Hashtag sorry, not sorry, but welcome back to season 3. Yeah, with the dwellers below, dwellers below.
Wait, it says recording 1 minute. Do you want to stop the recording, start a new one, do the intro so there's no edit?
Nah, I worked out we did that last time and it just didn't work super well because I had to time it right on. So it turns out I can just chop the end off in the next screen as soon as we're done. So
roll it again.
Roll take 3.
Hashtag
This isn't
sorry, not sorry, but welcome back to season 3. Yeah, with the dwellers below, dwellers below.
Ladies and gentlemen, and the rest, good morning, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you may be listening to this episode of The Dwellers Below. Warhammer, the Old World, a fantasy podcast where we do have podcast roots and are not really doing this for the YouTube likes and algorithm. We're going to ramble. We're going to get distracted. We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff that we didn't intend. But what we are intending to talk about today is this is episode 2 of our Slow Grow, where we do a little bit of show and tell with what it is that we've been working on in the hobby over the last couple of months now, I think, at this point. So I'm your host today. I'm the Jabus Lyth, and I'm joined to the right by the father of lies. Below him, all the way from England, Dave O'War. And in the bottom left, Mr. Chris Cousins, also from overseas, which brings me to another point that we're just not going to bother doing editing anymore. We're just going to do a single
You mean I'm
recording.
not going to bother doing editing anymore?
Yeah, you can't be bothered doing that anymore. So what that means is, there's going to be a lot of times where there's a little bit of awkwardness because we got 2 people with quite a big delay. But let's get stuck into it and talk a little bit about what we've been up to in the hobby. Davey, you want to kick it off, mate?
Yeah, sure. I've played a fair bit of Warhammer. I've played about 7 games. Went to a small 1250 tournament at local Element Games. Faced off against 2 of the dragons. Came fourth out of 16, so not too much. But also, I discovered it turns out when you don't play Wood Elf Avoidance armies, you can actually win best sports, which is quite nice. Giving people something like a game. So that was enjoyable. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of basically all cavalry empire armies, which has been really, really sound fun and enjoying the heck out of that. Yeah. How about you, Chris?
Wait on. Is that just another way of you
also
saying I'm running a whole bunch of demigriff and a steam tank and some characters and some knights, and you make it sound like it's an all cav army, but actually it's taking all the relative filth in what is probably not the greatest army list?
Yes, that's exactly right. It's me taking 1 to 2 units of knights, 2 to 3 units of demigriffs and a steam tank and nothing else, because everything else in the Empire army is kind of dubious.
I was going to say the Empire players could probably take what they could get at this point.
Yeah.
And are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I am. I've played. So I'm playing in a slow grow campaign as well, where I'm taking more of the potato stuff, pistoliers and militia and things like that.
Are you cheating on us with another slow grow?
I think it's the other way around. I think I was with them first. I think you're my side piece, Nick. Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm an Empire player. I'll take what I can get.
I've played with the other stuff too, the infantry and things, and I'm enjoying that in a kind of more fluffy setting. But they're bad. That you pay more points for what you get. That's worse than almost any other army, and your mechanisms for buffing them don't work effectively. You can give your spears reroll 1 to hit and to wound. Still, weapon skill 3, strength 3 spears with kind of nothing else going for them. So for more competitive games, it's been basically all cav. So knights, demigriffs, and a steam tank. And that's been pretty good, I've found.
I'll jump in for Danny because he couldn't make it tonight, but he would point out, no doubt, that everyone gets detachments now, so why would you play Empire?
And yeah, the detachments, at least from what I'm seeing, the meta is kind of quite heavy on cavalry and fast monsters, pretty much. And those detachments do help because they have closed order. They go in the flanks and they add combat res. But it just doesn't quite work out to be enough to counteract the fact that your infantry are all dying, or, to be honest, often are just running away from terror, because you can't really get higher than leadership 9, and you're usually leadership 8 without a reroll for terror checks. So yeah, I have been enjoying them. I think the lack of depth in the Empire army is a bit frustrating, and just small things like the Empire don't get any laws, so they don't get any other signature spells. So if you want to use a law that has a really bad signature, you're just stuck with that signature. So yeah, I have been enjoying them. I'm enjoying the Empire. I've been going pretty well with wins with them, but there's no depth in the list. You really aren't. You don't have much room to play around with, I think.
So Orcs and Goblins just got an arcane journal, and I reckon their infantry is kind of okay. And so the army of infantry, 2 of them, there's the Cav one and the Troll one. It's kind of like Empire could be fixed by making an infantry army of infamy that everyone kind of uses, that just buffs all of them massively, and you don't have to rewrite or rebalance them other than that.
Yeah, look, I mean, actually giving them a special rule for the army list, which they don't currently have, for example, would go a long way. So I think the armies of infamy will could go that direction, but
you're having fun, and that's what we're about.
Having a good time.
Good.
And
you're
your
playing
opponent's
games.
having fun, apparently.
Yeah,
love it. Chris, talk to us.
Yeah, I'm also having fun, even though 3 of my last games have been against the big dragons, the Star Dragons and the Chaos Dragons.
Lucky our podcast did an episode about how to beat dragons.
And fortunately, I listened to that episode of the Old World Fanatics and was able to build my list with dragons in mind. So I've got the big combat res block. I've got a tanky wyvern character to tag team with that. And in all games I played against the dragons, I was able to win combats against them or break them. But dragons can also escape. So the games ended up being really back and forth because I had brought the tools to deal with it. So I'm a little more optimistic now about dragons and the effect that they'll have on the game than I was before, as long as people are willing to actually kind of swallow their pride and take some anti-dragon tools. We ended up with games of Warhammer. I had an answer to their dragon. They had a dragon. We were both trying to insert the right thing into the right place. And that's always quite fun to do. So had a really good time with that. And
Chris, I don't want to insert the right thing in the right place. I just want to move all my stuff forward and win, and then a dragon kills me. What do I do?
40k.
Yeah. Age of Sigmar.
So what's your list looking like? Have you settled on a kind of a basic structure yet?
Kind of like Dave, just take the good things, but Orcs and Goblins have way more good things than Empire do. So, a little bit easier than that. To be honest, I've come to very similar conclusions about the Orc list to Val Heffelfinger on the Squarebase podcast. Black Orcs, good. Night Goblin Fanatics, good. Random Moving Squigs, good. Double level 4s, good. Trying to avoid the basic Orc infantry, I think that's probably the weakest thing in the list that's not called common goblins.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's a lot of flexibility within that, and my new favorite thing is putting 6 headbutting hats on a Black Orc war boss and having all the impact hits in the world. I did get a game in with that, and it was quite fun when your Wyvern has like a bunch of Strength 5 impact hits to go along with everything else.
I love it. Juicy.
But I did have a question for you, Jave, actually. What's an orc's favorite breakfast food?
Grotlings.
Crumpets! Because I like crumping things.
Crumping them good. Lovely.
For any listeners that watched the first 10 minutes of the Dragon show and then left because it was off topic and then have come back hoping we'd be back on topic, there's your answer.
This time we have a disclaimer. We are going to ramble and not get to much of a point. There is no point of this episode. If you're expecting there to be one, you probably should stop now. Probably best for if you're painting or doing something else and we're not the primary focus, if we're being honest. Owen, what's been happening in the hobby?
Hobby? Absolutely zilch. Nothing. Nada. No hobby has been happening over here. Life has gotten in the way. Been working on my own body rather than my model bodies. So.
And looking good. Well
Thanks,
done.
man. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
No games, no painting.
Sadly, no games, no painting. Well, maybe a tiny bit of painting, but certainly not enough to make my month 1 pledge, let alone month 2.
And no editing, so nothing. Why are you even here? Actually,
well, because Morgan bailed at the last minute.
So I've still played 0 games of the old world. I'm a changed man. I am now painting and spending a lot of time painting.
And not just converting and then never painting the models.
No, well, it was what I thought it was. It was I spend so bloody long converting them and scraping them and, trying to make everything different that if I'm going to put shit paint on it, I'll never get that work back. I'll ruin what it is that I came up with. But since I got the printer, well, now I can just printy whatever it is that I want. If I don't like it, I'll just print another one. Turns out I didn't bother doing that, and painting's okay because of the slappity chop. Thank you, nice. Chris. But then it turns out actually I'm not even slap chopping anymore. Now I'm like edge highlights. I'm layering a little bit of highlighting. And so for me, it's been quite a journey of discovering how to do the hobby over the last couple of months. And so I'm going to share a few of the things that I've learned that everyone else already knows, but if for whatever reason you don't, here goes. All right. Well, number one,
Dave, just pretend you invented them, like Rob did with slap chop.
Yeah.
Wow stick. Wow for the wow stick.
Yeah,
they're pretty great. But almost too great. I've gone through models and penetrated a little bit too far, caused them some internal bleeding. That was no good. So wow stick, good, number one. Then I've tried to figure out how to print out bases without doing them supported and just doing them flat. And then I keep getting the elephant's feet, and I figured out that actually you can do this thing called skating, and you put the skate back, and then when you print it off, it's all fine. And that's great. And then I've come up with another problem is that now my resin bases, they seem to warp a little bit. They're not perfectly flat. And I haven't figured out, is that a problem of the curing, or do I need to stick a book on them after I've cured them or before I cure them or something? How do I keep them flat without doing any of the warp? Anyone know?
It's an issue I've had, and I don't have an answer for you. There's so many different resins you can use, so many different ways you can print it, you're layering. There's basically no way of telling you, hey, if you do this, this will fix it, because there's so many different things you can do. I've had the exact same thing. I've got bases that I've been printing here, and they're pretty good. I find the ones that are pre-supported and they have the, I don't know if you can really see it, the sort of the structure at the bottom.
Yeah.
That helps a lot rather than it being just empty space like a workshop base. But trial and error, man. It's really the way to go. You're never going to get it perfect. Is the other thing. Sorry.
Mine's the opposite though. Mine's solid. There's no cutaway. It's just a slab of resin with a bevel.
Yeah, but then you're getting a lot of flat resin, and then that might warp as well. So it the main thing I learned is you're not going to get it perfect. And if you look at workshop bases, they're also not perfect. The cavalry bases just straight up aren't 25 by 50. So
quite significantly not 25 by 50.
Yeah, not even vaguely close, and not an issue that they've fixed in the last 20 years.
No.
Okay.
I mean, my solution. I only have this with big bases, so with 60 by 100s, where I'm rescaling them and then having to support them myself. And my high-tech solution is to get a sanding pad.
Yeah.
And just
die of resin poisoning
down a little bit. Well, wear a respirator, not like a psychopath, but yeah.
Okay.
That's basically been my answer. Resin does sand pretty easily, even though it is highly toxic and you don't want to breathe it in or have it near your kids. But
Okay.
that's the
Okay.
solution.
So the other thing I've been thinking, and I haven't done any of this yet, but is MDF. Like that's pretty good. Don't get water on it, obviously, but seems to work for everyone else. But I haven't done that yet. And so the next thing that I tried to figure out was how do I magnetize these motherfuckers? So I thought, all right, I'm going to put down magnetic sheeting underneath it. And then I was like, I don't know, maybe that's not strong enough. And then so I was like, well, everyone else does. Just drill a hole and pop your thing in. Because my bases are solid. First, I spent ages after I'd already painted the model, like drilling in and trying to not go through the base, and then sliding the magnet in. And then I realized, well, I should do that before I paint the model. And then I realized what you can do is you can just drill straight through and just chuck some glue or whatever over the top, glue and sand over the top, or flock or whatever it is. And then you can sort of put the magnet from the top. And then I figured out that if you buy the right magnet type, and so I've got 3 mil by 2 mil magnets, and those, if you drill a 3 mil hole, are a really tight fit. And then sometimes they hang out below the base, and so that causes its own kind of not steadiness. But the new plan is, oh no, they're not that tight. They're not that tight. But if you buy the 3.125s, then it's a perfect fit. You don't need glue, and you can just slide it in. And so that's my most recent thing. Drill a hole straight through them after I print, cure, drill hole that is 3 mil hole, which is a little bit bigger. Stick the magnet in, put a little bit of glue in it, and then get it flush. Primo. And so that's where I'm going next.
Have you considered drilling it in the STL so it prints with a hole in it? Then you don't have to drill it.
I have, but it kind of expands out a little bit, and then it's not always perfect. And I was just like, I'll just go ahead and do the drilling. But I wasn't that impressed with the strength of the magnets, and so I thought it made sense if it's got like a 400 gram pull weight or whatever, one magnet for a 30 by 30, but it needs 2 and Cav needs 3. And so that's just now the formula. And then I bought a fancy
magnets from China, and they suck. Now I need to buy.
I just got ones from the magnet place in Australia. Pretty expensive, but I don't know. Anyway, so I've done all of that now, and that's the stuff that I've learned. Plus, I don't know if I told everyone about this last time, but resin gluing, amazing, so good. Just put your model on, like your horse or whatever it is. You got your base. Put a little bit of resin on there, UV light, done. Perfect. So good. Anyway, so I've done all that and then some painting and shit. But shall we get on to that? Let's do the slow grow, what we've been doing.
Let's do it.
All right. Who do you want to start with, Chris? This is your baby.
So I think the first up's going to be Danny, but there was just one other thing I wanted to ask you about the orcs you've been working on, Jabe. What's an orc's favorite mode of transportation? A chopper.
Get to the chopper.
I know a guy who did a whole orc army that were in like choppers and stuff.
Furious choppers. I love it. All right. Talk us through these ones. Danny's not here, obviously, right? So he sends his regrets, but then he's going to outdo us even when he's not here to humble brag about it.
Putting us to shame with his oil paints yet again.
Yeah. Oh, he did do a great little video on YouTube. If anyone wants to check it out, go search Danny Paints. There's like a 4-minute or something tutorial on how to do oil painting, basically from these models. Primo. Go check that out.
Don't watch his 4-minute videos. Watch or his actual painting stuff. Watch his shorts. They're excellent.
Are they?
They're actually they're super funny. Some of them are really on point.
Okay. Well, these miniatures I think are on point as well. So
yeah, these are awesome. I mean, I am impressed that he's gone for the decision to go halberds rather than lancers, just because it's such an unoptimized choice for the demigriffs.
Yeah, it's a slow grow. It's a hobby thing, right? He's a fluff gamer.
I reckon you could use those halberds as lancers. They've got points on the end. Should be right.
Absolutely no.
Absolutely. I'd make him clip off the accents.
Yeah.
All right, let's move along.
More demigriffs.
That is an impressive looking unit.
That's what you call an all-cav army.
Yeah.
Is that are they acceptably equipped, Dave?
Yeah, that is absolutely a thing of beauty, Chris.
I didn't even notice that was 6 more. I was like, oh, there's 3 there, and then there's 3 more. That makes 6, but there's 6 with lances there.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He's a bad man. How many demigriffs do you have, Dave?
I think I have 10.
I'll see 1 up here.
See,
See,
freehand banner.
people don't need to see this shit.
Yeah, that's right.
It just makes you feel bad. Makes me feel bad. It
His
does
little
not motivate me to go do hobby and seeing this nonsense.
It looks awesome, though. I was so impressed with that.
But what's your motivation to do hobby been anyway, Owen?
Well, it hasn't. I've been trying to get fit, but the problem is, like, I hang out with Danny, and Danny's also way fitter than me, and way better looking than me, and so it's like, why do I even exist?
What a prick. Let's move on to the next. Oh,
It just gets worse, doesn't it?
lovely.
I love this.
Chris,
The
can you
Empire Captain on Pegasus, ready to charge in with its 2 strength 5, 2 weapon skill 5 attacks. You know, about as good as one chosen warrior.
It's a dragon slaying sword, though. Man.
Look at that sword.
I know.
Chris, say something bad about this, please.
He's not even painted it with like metallic paints. He's just painted like a bunch of greys and browns on it and trying to pass that off as metal. Jesus.
Yeah.
Also,
give him a painting
the base looks too realistic, so it ruins the immersion of the fantasy model.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Move on. Next.
Oh, I've not. This guy's awesome.
Look at this guy.
What
It's
is-
terrible.
what even
Man,
is
this
it?
guy can learn to paint. God.
Can you even put heroes on demigriffs?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, you can put the Grandmasters, the Knight Heroes, and Empire Captains on it. And I've not had the chance to get a model together, but like Empire Captain BSB on demigriff is a legit choice, actually. +1 wound, extra 3 strength 5 attacks, which is way better than he'll do on his own. They're really good.
Is that a stock model or is that a whole bunch of converting?
Nah, that's a real
Conversion.
proper conversion. There's like Stormcast bits in there. There's a lot going on.
Wow.
Yeah, the Cities of Sigmar
He
guy.
has another one of his videos taking you through the conversion process.
I kind of regret putting him on first. We all feel bad about ourselves before we've even revealed.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's
Alright.
not here, so he can't just spend 20 minutes talking about how great his painting is and how great his hobby channel is and how good looking he is. I'm glad he's not here.
He's fantastic.
The other thing about that that Grandmaster is the sword that he's using was previously on one of Danny's like actual best painted standard army models, and he's just clipped it off, like hacked through his old paint job to put together this new model. And so he's also incredibly brave, because I don't think I'd ever have the guts to do that.
Definitely not.
I'm more than happy to hack through my models because they're painted like shit.
All right.
It does look great though. The oils come up so nice on the scheme he's gone.
Yeah, it works
Yeah.
very, very well.
That is nice.
All right, should we move along to something less depressing? This is me.
This is better. This is much nicer. More of this, please.
Here we go.
So this is my next month's pledge. I'm going to do a bunch of state troops and probably a mage on Pegasus and maybe a BSB on either Pegasus or Demigriff as well. These are Reptilian Overlord STLs. Looking forward to getting them on the table. I think they're completely useless, but they'll look beautiful. Do you want to move through, Jabe?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on.
So I had a pretty productive painting month. I did about 25 Empire Militia, again from Reptilian Overlord, which are a really fun kind of kit with lots of bizarre little bits and pieces to them. This is for my Talabekland Witch Hunter army. And so far in the games, they have either failed fear tests and not made it into close combat, or been shot and panicked and run off before they've had a chance to do anything useful. But I like the models.
Your opponent has enjoyed playing against them.
Yes. Yeah. Particularly my opponent, where they fail an impetuous particularly when they fail an impetuous check, which means they have to charge, but then they fail a fear check, which means they can't charge, and so they're forced to make a charge action which they can't complete and just sit there waiting to get attacked back by Tomb Kings.
Okay.
Do you want to move on next?
Yep.
Keep on going, Jabe.
More angles. Oh, there we go.
So
more fucking demigriffs.
As is tradition, I've immediately broken the lance on it. I actually painted up another 5 demigriff. But I've only got photos of 2 of these. Just these were ones I had lying around from the last edition. So got them together if I ever want to go full try hard and run 3 units of 3 at a tournament, which I probably will sometime in the near future. Jabe, do you want to jump next?
A free hand on those shields, mate?
The free hand on these is a lot better than Danny's.
It's a lot more scratchy, and you can see how it's done.
Yes. That's the wrong button. That one. Filth.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so I got my cannon just in time for cannons to be kind of mediocre. I've played about 4 games with this bad boy, and so far it's done 1 wound to something.
No way.
Which has
how many demigriffs could that be?
That could be 2 demigriffs, which you can take as a unit, which is a lot better than this. Also, a cannon is 100 points, but then a steam tank is like 265, which also has a cannon and is amazing. So
I don't know about the mold lines on that barrel.
That's not mold lines. That's where you glue the 2 bits together, and because it's like late 90s, early 2000s model, they don't align properly, and then I couldn't be bothered resculpting it all together.
Metal?
No, it's plastic, but it's a 2-part kit that doesn't align perfectly because it's pre-CAD technology.
Okay.
You know who wouldn't stand for that?
Lazy. Move along.
I did another 8 of these guys as well. Just regular knights with spears that I've converted up out of the Pistolier horses, because I think the regular Empire horses are garbage. Like they're just tiny and awful. And they've been quite fun. I've been running units of 4 of them with stubborn, because they can take stubborn, and then you using them 2 wide, 2 by 2, basically as redirectors that won't die in the first round against most units, especially if you're a champion in the front. And so you then fall back in good order. They don't get the points for you. You rally, and they either have to go forward into you, presenting their flank, or you're there again to redirect a second time, which I think are pretty fantastic for like 88 points for the unit. Next along, Jabe, I did a wizard on horse. This was for the Element Games tournament. I used this guy with demonology, which I've decided is not the law of magic for me, because the signature spell is awesome, but he kind of did nothing. But this is a Highland Miniatures one, with a bit of checkering added on.
Yeah, nice. Good effort.
And next along after that, I did another 4 of these old Potato Empire hook guys, and I absolutely hate the horses, and they make me angry every time I see them.
But the swords are sick. Like with the love it.
Yeah, the sword's cool. They're from the Greatsword kit.
Yeah.
Next along, I also, speaking of useless pieces of tech, I have a mortar as well, just for dropping down those strength 2 pie plates, which I've not used yet, but I will in the Slogo campaign soon. And I think that's me done. So I've done. So yeah, did about 1,000 points this month with the Empire and speeding through them.
Probably is more than anyone else, I would suggest. That's a lot of painting, my friend. That's a solid effort.
More than us.
Yeah, nice.
How has the fluff of your army developed in the last month?
Oh, actually a lot. I have the full backstory about how during the War of the Empire, the 3 emperors, the Countess of Talabeclan declares herself as the empress.
No, not like that. like you're telling a story. It's got to be epic and do it. Like perform for us.
Okay. It was the age of 3 empires, and across the empire there was a battle for the soul. Would Sigmar's hammers succeed, or would the heretical powers of Tal and Ulrich take charge? Ernest von Harnack, the Templar of the Great Order of the Silver Hammer, was a stern and relentless man known for his unyielding commitment to eradicating any hint of heresy or dark magic within the borders of Karl Franz's empire. His reputation as a formidable hunter of witches had spread far and wide, striking fear into the hearts of those who practiced the forbidden arts. I'm not going to keep going, but that's basically it.
Can you do that again, but in a Sylvester Stallone accent?
Ernest von Harnack, a Templar order. No, I can't. We need Nick here to do that. Yeah. I think I just sounded drunk. Yeah, we need.
Was that Brando in The Godfather?
Yeah.
Great. Oh, nice, dude. Solid effort. Love your story. This is great. Oh, who's next?
The Orcs.
Oh, this is me.
The Orcs is next.
All right. So this is the Orcs. This is my first ever painted miniature. So I've done mine in the order that I painted them, and so that you can see the Hey.
I don't believe you. That can't be the first model you've ever painted.
Yeah. Well, unless blue tack and like a primer and like a lick of silver on a sword or something counts, then this is my first painted mini. And so I've put them in like
you can
fuck
off and hang out with Danny. Like, this is some nonsense if that's your first model.
Well, I think it's just slap chop. Because that's all he really yeah, that's basically what he was. This is just slappity chop. And so this was black, dry brush grey, dry brush white, and then contrast paints, which actually, what am I using? I'm using the good ones, Army Painter ones, Speed Paint 2, 2.0. And so this guy I wanted to tie together what I'd done with the old, what my mate had done with my old bottles for all the Savage Orcs. And there are two there are two colors there. It's the orange is the major accent, and that little blue on his hand is the minor accent, and that's been the theme through all of the other ones. But I couldn't figure out where to stop with the orange. I'm like, all right, well, I'll do this bit up here on the armor, and then I'm like, well, if that bit's orange, why isn't all the rest of it? And his whole body just ended up being orange, and I'm like, oh, that's no good. And so then I moved on to the nextie.
Hang on.
And then this next batch is me trying to figure out, well, okay, if I'm not doing orange like that, then how do you do metal? And so we've got some that are like, sort of a dark black with excessive edge highlights, because I've just discovered edge highlighting at this point. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is a little bit fun. And I kind of went a little bit overboard. I didn't realize that when you first put the paint on, it doesn't obviously pop as much as after it dries, and so you don't need to put on anywhere near as much. Hadn't realized that. And so these guys are all test batches. These are Avatars of War 90% scale orcs, black orcs, whatever they call theirs. And I really like the models, though. They're pretty great. And so the left ones are more like regular armor, and it's a bit more silvery instead of black. But I'm kind of getting down the blue and the orange accents, and so I'm liking those. Still not finished with that I see it with the fur and stuff that are on them. But so these were early attempts. So my aim is to spit out a block of 27 black orcs. So we'll go next.
They look great, man. I love how chunky these models are.
Yeah,
are they good?
Filling out those 30mm bases pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the guy on the second to the right up the front, that's a G-dub sculpt. And so is the one on the front left. And they're both just a bit of conversion, a bit of green stuff on both of them, just to pose them a little bit differently. But yeah, I quite like the Avatars of War ones. I think they're great. Let's
when you're choosing between different miniature ranges, Do you ever wonder who an orc's favorite actor is?
Oh, I'm definitely wondering. Who is it?
Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin.
Chaplin.
Obviously.
How about that one?
Oh,
These
this
ones
is so
are
cool.
Sick. Oh my word.
So these are the next
I might just
batch that
log
I
off and go
started working on. These are all also Avatars of War ones. These are like various bosses that they've got printed at 85%, because otherwise they're way too big. And these guys, I still hadn't figured out the right paint for how to do metal properly or how I liked them. And so this is all just really contrast paints. There's very small amount of highlighting, not much. And I hadn't really figured out how to do the blades of the weapons so that they kind of look cool. But these guys are all right, and I'm just going to use them as Black Orcs. But great models. They're just very big.
Sick.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah. These are G-dub sculpts, and this is where I've figured out the painting, how to do metal the way that I kind of like it. And it doesn't pop anywhere near as much, which, I need to figure out what to do with that. But I discovered rust effects. And so this is, at this stage, what was this? This is a Nuln wash over the top of a bright metal contrast paint, whatever the speed paint ones, and then rust dabbed on over the top. And so it took me a while to figure that one out, watching a few videos and doing the wrong thing. And is the one that you have to warm up
Dirty down.
in a liquid, dirty down.
Yeah.
So it goes into my pocket where it's nice and warm, and it needs to sit there for about half an hour or so. And then I'm using like battle foam, not battle foam, just like pluck foam, and then just sort of dabbing it on. And so these ones are that, and then I'm going a lot lighter on the edge highlights, and I've kind of figured out what to do with like the weapon blades so that they look like they're a little bit brighter on the edges. And so I'm starting to be reasonably happy with these dudes. And so there's a few conversions sitting in there. But I'm starting to like the theme of these guys at this stage.
Getting the armor right is so important because there's just so much of it. Like that whole unit, like the predominant color, it's not the skin, it's definitely the armor.
I'm feeling like they need brightening up on the pop, and I would just wonder if basing's gonna do. Oh, you can see here, by the way, that the drilling through of where the magnets are. So I feel like the basing kind of needs to bring it up in terms of color. These are the ones I've painted most recently, and I'm just getting a little bit better at it. And so starting to do shit like realizing that when you're using contrast paints, it all drops in terms of gravity. And so that's useful on the underside of something. You want that paint to come down because that's where the shadow is. But if you're painting on the upside of something, then I'm now painting upside down, like on chainmail and stuff, so that relatively there's more shadow dropping towards the bottom, which is then the top of the chainmail. And so these guys are now starting to take me way longer at this point. And most things, not the metal, but most other things are in a using a 000. And I've now got hobby glasses. So
I would say if you're wanting to up your speed, most of the time you don't need to use a tiny brush. You need to use a big brush with a good tip, because you should be able to get basically the same level of detail unless you're doing very tiny stuff with like a 1. But you're going to need to be constantly refreshing your brush with the 000. But you need to make sure you're using a good quality 1 and keeping the tip pristine. But if you look at really good painters, they're usually not using smaller brushes. They're usually using bigger brushes. And just being a bit more careful about their tips.
I kind of found
the tip.
once I'd whipped out a 000, and started sticking that into my models, and with the hobby glasses, it started to look big, and then it never occurs to me to go back and get a bigger brush. So I'm still just kind of learning at this stage, and they're mostly done. I've missed the head of the guy on the banner, and I need to have my freehand work a little bit more pronounced for the J, for the ginormous Wa, which is not very seeable. But so those guys are my most recent ones.
I mean, and Dave did some awesome freehand on his guys, so maybe chat to him for some advice.
maybe not.
I don't want to ask Danny. And then these are these are again avatars of war. These are 100% scale this time. I think the boss actually, he might be 85%. Can't remember. And unfortunately, the boar for these four managed to escape the big Thor for the ginormous Wa from War Boss J, and they're the riders unfortunately are still stuck in the ice thawing out, and these guys haven't got their full color component yet, and so this is just straight contrast, no extra layering or any of that stuff, just one coat of each of them. And the guy on the right, you can't really see it from here, but that guy's a sick model. He looks great, but I should have taken a better photo of him. But so that's them, and then we'll move along. And so this is my 27 orcs, black orcs, and then I realised I've got to do another 7, I think, for my army. But at least I got a unit now. Problem is, I've got too many great weapons, and I need more shields. And so I don't know if you guys have figured out how Motley Crue, in fact, you've almost definitely, so let me just rephrase it. Teach me how Motley Crue works. What I was thinking is, if I'm 7 wide and 4 of the models in the front have got shields, then that's the majority. And so now we're all on 3+, but 3 of those guys are going to be great weapons, and the guys on the side will be shields, and then 2 of the whatevers, 2 of the other ones will be shields. And then how do you do the kind of the step up or the removal from things at the back so that I'm always getting attacked on a 3+, but then I'm still rolling back and attacking with my great weapons? How does Motley Crue work in terms of taking models off? And Chris, this is one for you.
Yeah,
I'm
not exactly certain myself yet. I'm just giving every model basically a great weapon so that I don't need to worry about that, and just making sure that more than half of them have shields. It's not points optimal, but it means that I don't accidentally sort of do the wrong thing. Basically, I'm not sure is the short answer. I think I would be taking the models off that are actually in base to base. So if you want to have the same number of models in your front equipped the same way the whole time, I'd just do them in columns. So when you take off one, there's literally a model with the same equipment behind to step up. But not exactly certain, and need to actually run some numbers to work out how I'm supposed to be doing it. But just giving everyone a great weapon seems easier and possibly orkier. Yeah,
but they have to choose. You have to specify which weapon they're using before the combat. And so each time you just say this guy's got a shield, like do you point to each model and be like, this dude's rocking shield, this dude's, and then how do you record that?
I've just been doing the whole unit does the same thing all the time. Again, probably not optimal, but that's been my workaround.
I think it's relatively clear, actually. So the rules say against enemy shooting, casualties should be divided as equally as possible. That's easy. In combat, casualties should be removed from among the models that make up the fighting rank, and in either case, available models brought forward from the rear ranks to fill any gaps are chosen by the controlling player. So I think that's pretty easy, and you use the armor value for the majority, either of the whole unit for shooting or of the front rank for close combat, and then you remove models however you want. They don't have to correspond between the models being removed and the armor save that you've taken.
Hang on, let me just. I think I heard you say there is I can have my cake and eat it too, so that I get a 3-up save from in combat and from shooting, and then I just take off the shield models and leave my great weapon ones there. So they go in, they do their attacks, they blow all their stuff. I remove shield guys, and then the great weapon guys are there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be right, except for if they kill more than 4 models, because you've only got 4 shields in the front rank. Because casualties should be removed from among the majority of the models in the fighting rank, which is the shields. But oh no, maybe not. Casualties should be removed from among the majority of the models in the fighting rank. No, you just remove shields.
Okay. So
if you're 7 wide and they kill 7 shields, you still get to attack back with your 3 great weapon dudes, even though you've actually lost 7 guys. So normally your whole front rank could be dead.
But they don't choose who it is that they're killing though. They do 7 wounds to the front rank, all of which are rocking a 3+ save, but 3 of whom happen to be great weapons.
Yeah.
If
you know how it works, let us know in the comments, because we certainly don't.
No.
Yeah.
I think it needs an FAQ. You definitely get the 3-up save. I think the question of whether you get to fight back or not, or who gets to that, is not clear.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking to exploiting that and not looking to win sports. Sportsman's the kidding. And that's just another photo of the same thing. So,
but it shows depth. It shows the depth.
They look awesome.
They look great.
Yeah, so that's my hobby stuff with the little orange guy hiding up the back in shame with all his orangeness. But maybe he should be loud and proud, and I boot Grimgor off. So that's me for hobby.
Look at that trim.
Look at that.
That's me. I've been painting the trim on this guy for 2.5 months. 1.5 months. I'll probably be doing it for the next month too.
70% done?
Apologies. Yeah, this is my cap prints. Apologies for the poor photo. This guy is a lovely model, but yeah, there's a lot of bone trim and stuff like that. I don't even know where I'm going to start with the base. Probably just paint it pretty generic colors, but this is. Let me hang on. Where's my fluff? I've got my fluff.
And is that contrasts or is that layering, or like how are you doing the yellow?
It's a bit of a mix. So it's a zenithal kind of pretty bright brown into white undercoat, just using sprays. Then it's the contrast bone. I think it's skeleton horde. Then
that's such a good contrast paint.
Yeah, it's one of the best for sure. And then a layer of the brown wash.
Hang on a minute. You have not been working on that recently. That thing's got fucking cobwebs on it. You're passing off past work as something that you've done recently. I can see the cobwebs.
I haven't done anything for the past month.
It actually does have cobwebs on it.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's just amazing modeling skills. You figured out how to do cobwebs.
No, it definitely has cobwebs on it.
That looks good, dude.
So yeah, it's what's the brown wash? I haven't painted in so long. I can't even tell you what. No, Agrax Earthshade. I keep wanting to say the old brown devil and mud. But so the skeleton horde, the Agrax Earthshade, and then a highlight of like wraithbone for the bone.
So when you said that you do zenithal, whatever it was, brown, and then zenithal white, are you doing any dry brushing?
No, I haven't been, because I know I'm washing it and then layer highlighting it, so I don't really need the dry brushing to create the depth.
Okay. Huh. All right.
I'd probably be better off dry brushing, frankly. I think you definitely get more definition, but because I'm just edge highlighting the entire damn model, the definition comes from that, right? Like you can sort of see.
Yeah.
On the shoulders, there's decent definition. Part of my my issue with this model is I used a can of Games Workshop spray that has just ruined everything. Of the white spray, you can see all the little particles.
Grainy,
If I zoom in, it's real grainy. I had some real issues. The Chaos Knights, I'll flick to the Chaos Knights now. The Chaos Knights, you can't really see it anymore. You can see it on the tip of this guy's lance here.
Yeah.
Like really grainy, like basically ruined the models. I basically washed them. I put them in warm running water with a toothbrush and just scrubbed them with a toothbrush, and it was just like coming off like dust. It was not ideal.
I mean, airbrush priming is the way of the future, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, rattle cans have served me well in the past, but I'm not going to be using a can of Workshop Corax White ever again. So, and yeah, it's just the black is just a contrast black, which I'll go over with some kind of highlight. But yeah, there's 5 knights that have managed to just barely fit onto the 30 by 60 mil bases that they're now on. Very cool models, really cool models. I'm very they'll look nice when they're done. It's a pity that they got destroyed by the undercoat and just texturally look a bit bleh. But I'm happy with the colors. The black and the bone works well. And yeah, so we're getting there. No, well, we're not getting there, but and yeah, I wrote a bit of fluff for my guys. So this is it's called the Host of the Broken Sun. So this bro is
Where's the accent?
No, I'm not doing no accent. I'm narrating it. So the big dog here is Girek the Mangler, and he is the master of the Broken Sun, and he was previously Gebhard Mengelberg, and he was a Hochmaster in the Order of the Blazing Sun. But he had this like relentless pursuit of excellence in battle, and he was like obsessed with like becoming the best warrior in the Order. Super generic fantasy trope, right? But then that became like an obsession.
Sounds like a resume. That's the sort of thing I'd get when someone's applying.
Relentless covering letter.
Excellence. Like, oh, okay.
And so that was like that focused to him on like physical combat and like being like the best one-on-one duelist. And so as a result of being defeated in like a practice or a mock combat by another knight, he got tempted by the chaos gods through thoughts of like revenge and glory. And so he was eventually corrupted further and got these like physical blessings and became super swole.
So this is like Warhammer Andrew Tate, right? He's gone
politics and shit on this podcast anymore.
He's gone hard to the far right, started to get beefed up, and next thing you know, he's in jail for dubious practices and worshipping the chaos powers.
If we were in the old world and there were chaos gods, which of you reckon you would be corrupted by them? Do you reckon you would get corrupted by the chaos gods? The temptation of power?
Look, if one of the 1DS demonettes walked into my bedroom,
that's all it takes for you. A little bit of flesh.
It's just one crabby lady, and that's it. I mean, Nurgle's pretty tempting.
Really? What's the temptation on Nurgle?
Oh, loving embrace of your grandfather. No more pain, eternal joy.
No pain thing.
You also need to compare it against what you're being offered on the other side. So Chaos offer all of these gifts, and Sigma gives you absolutely fucking nothing. So why would we not go with the gifts of the Chaos gods?
Exactly, and that's what Gebhard Mengelberg did, and he got some sweet swole blessings. And
sorry, his name's Gethard.
He was Gebhard.
Gethard.
He's now Gethard. I'll change that. Now. Yeah. He's now Gethard.
I think you should leave it. And so, what gifts is he? What persuasion of gifts has he been bestowed?
Real generic. He's undivided. So he's just a big swole dude. As you can see, that's a 50 by 75 mil base. So he ain't a normal human under all that armor anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, so then he he got swole and finally got revenge against the knight that beat him in the duel. But then he kind of went a bit over the top and roid rage murdered the guy. And so now he's no longer in the Order of the Blazing Sun. He's now Girek the Mangler, and he's rolling around with his warband of the Broken Sun. And so, like painting wise, trying to use colors from the Order of the Blazing Sun with the black armor, the gold, and the bone. Sort of accents, sort of similar color palette. Broken Sun sort of motif. You can't really see it. I mean, it comes on the model, so it's a bit of a cop out. But certainly, I'll ask Dave for some freehand advice. But yeah, they've got a little sun motif on the armor and stuff like that. Obviously, Chaos Star is pretty easy to co-opt.
Get hard, living his best life. Nice.
Exactly, but yeah, like the army's going to be all mounted stuff, plus maybe some things like Dragon Ogres.
Dragon Ogres, man.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, Dragon Ogre Shatax with additional shields as magic items.
Yeah, it's Charm Shield. Yeah, you get a Charm Shield. And then yeah, Girek, I don't know, he might at some point ascend to become a Demon Prince or something like that.
Find a dragon to ride.
Yeah, exactly. So like playstyle wise, he's always going to like roll on the favor of the gods table because he's trying to come stronger and better in combat. He's always going to sort of try and kill like the biggest, baddest thing on the board. So again, super generic Games Workshop fantasy.
You should record all of the gifts, like his cumulative gifts throughout every game that you play, and then at some stage tally it up. And when that tally makes him strong enough or he has enough gifts, then turn him into a Demon Prince.
I love that.
That's a good idea.
Hate that at all. That's sick.
Yeah.
It's going to be really easy because I don't play any games.
Well, he's not going to get hard then, is he?
No,
He'll be just all flaccid and hanging out just in his crappy self until he gets inspired by actually doing something on the table.
That's why he's Girek, because he's on the gear, and so he doesn't actually need to train.
Yeah. All right.
That was my first month's pledge. This was my second month's pledge, being one sorcerer who I was going to give lots of magic items to. Clearly didn't get that done. Either. Love this model though. This thing's sick.
Also cobwebs.
Yeah. Classic. Love this model. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got another one of these models that I painted up for my Slanesh Warriors Army years back, but I somehow picked up another one and thought, yep, let's give it another go. Lots of sort of flat cloth and stuff to do highlights on. So not sure how I'm going to approach that, but we'll see how we go. I came up with a funny idea of giving this guy like heaps of familiars, and so I'm going to have like 6 different familiars or something on bases that are following him around. So Sam hooked me up with some familiar models, and I've got some of the old metal familiars. So
yeah.
And they're gonna follow him around like a almost like the old, like the mixed units, like salamanders, where you got the salamander and then the crew following it around. It's gonna have all these familiars running around behind him.
Lovely.
So that was last month's hobby. As you can see, I glued him to the base. He was already painted. He was already undercoated. So I can't even claim that. Thankfully, not undercoated with the same can of spray that I used on the other guys.
So what's happening in the month going forward? What are you working on?
I've got this little guy here. He's doing him around. There we go. Found one of them in my bits box.
That's a heavy model.
I can't find the wings. I cannot find the wings. He's got his own metal wings. I cannot find them.
I think that is this model's natural state, though, with the wings broken off, because I'm pretty sure that they never last on the model.
This big spinity, that's not going to last either.
Yeah, that's Is there a ton of pins through that, or are you just praying on super glue or some garbage?
Just thoughts and prayers, my friend. Thoughts and prayers.
Oh. You need a wow stick.
They're
amazing.
Yeah.
But I also didn't build that this month. I built that a few months ago. But I'm also probably not going to paint that this month. Let's be real. Soccer's starting next week, so see you later, guys. Someone's going to have to learn how to set up these episodes.
All right.
But yeah, that's me. So yeah, no real hobby, but I think about the hobby a lot, and I think about you guys a lot. And that's
someone who's done some real hobby. Gosh, look at all this, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, not super high on the point count, but did manage to knock over about, 41 orcs for the month. So
Well, this
the
Serious.
plan was to get the bulk of things out of the way early, and of course, really quickly, I've then stopped wanting to play with the big block of Savage Orc infantry that I spent most of the month paying.
On that, my dragon can be May as well because he's at least 1,000 points. So I've got more done here just putting that guy on the table on my table and gluing it together than in points than you've got there.
So do you think, Chris, that the Savage Orc Biggins or whatever, they're not a goer? You kind of can't make them work.
I've been trying them in smallish units. I need to get more games into playing with one big block. Sort of 25 plus Savage Orc Biggins might still have some legs, but I just need to get some more games in with that to see how it actually goes. The problem is the Black Orcs are just so much more appealing for your sort of central fulcrum blocks. Yeah. And once you spent your points on core, you don't really want to go back to it.
No, fair enough.
Not only are they
so this is
points efficient in terms of the Black Orcs, like for heavy infantry, they're damn good. And they can anchor the line because they sit around, but they also provide quell impetuosity, which is pretty amazing. Like versus your Savage Orcs, they're not being a reliable thing. They're like, off we go and charge. They're not anchoring anything.
No, they do fill different roles. So I just need to play some more games. Also, there might be some times where I don't want to have a Black Orc character and then end up with the Black Orcs as well. So we'll just need to play around with some different builds. But this was the bulk of the first month was painting up Savage Orcs on boars, and some of the new Games Workshop Iron Jaws for Black Orcs, which
they're awesome.
Really don't actually fit on 30 mils, but if you arrange the jigsaw perfectly, you can just about make it work.
It's good to get that traditional Warhammer experience of struggling to rank up your troops.
Oh, I remember having 100 blood letters.
Have you numbered them
squares.
underneath? 1A, 1B, etc.?
Then I just got sick of it.
No, because their formation changes quite a bit. So sometimes I'm running them 4x4. Sometimes they're 5 wide. After a swift reform, they're usually about 17 wide. So, a fallback in good order. Yeah. So, they're just always changing things up. But the rest of the Black Orcs I've got are the older ones. So I think once I paint some of those up to fill in the gaps, if you alternate new model, old model, they should rank up a lot more easily then.
I like what you've done with the banner conversion. That looks sick.
Oh, cheers. It's literally just the Night Goblin one chopped off because my Night Goblins are not there to fight combats. They're just there to deliver fanatics and then run away. So giving up 50 extra points didn't seem ideal for that.
Yeah.
So what's your armor formula?
It's a contrast black with a null oil wash, then a medium grey, and then a very a medium grey extreme highlight, and then an even more extreme highlight with a lighter mix of the same grey. But then it's just like different panels are done in silver or orange, and kind of the same formula. Contrast wash, 1 or 2 layers of edge highlighting.
Yeah, you can kind of see like the sort of top left, you've got that black armor, then the silver armor on the bracer, and then on the head on the guy on the right, you've got that orange armor. This is both darker, but pops more than Jabe's armor. Like it both seems brighter and darker at the same time.
Yeah, I agree.
I've long been an aficionado of absurdly extreme highlighting, and I think that's how you get this. So after my contrast layer, like a normal slap chop, and then washing it down further, but then also going to ridiculous extreme highlights. Like it's almost pure bone or white on most of the extreme edges.
Yeah, but it doesn't look too extreme. It works. I also see
dude,
I guess that's because. Oh, cheers. I guess the going like the dark and light next to each other balances out. Yep. In fact, I molded that freehand on with the skull. Sorry, with the moon.
That's impressive.
It's green stuffed it onto the banner piece by piece. That's pre-molded. I can't do freehand to save myself. Some orc boar boys. I need to get some shoulder pads to like some big metal chunks to pretend that they can also be non-savage orc boar boys, because I think after playing a few games with them, the frenzy is just too much of a liability on these ones. On your infantry blocks, if they're in charge range, then they're charging, that's fine. But these have such a big threat projection and variability in what they actually roll. They're just a bit too easy to bait around as savages. But nice to have some speed and, yeah, just something slightly different in the list, whereas most of the rest of my things are either infantry or a wyvern. Nice to have something that looks and plays a bit differently.
I like the boar boys though. I think they've got a decent place actually.
Boar boys are the savages though. Like boar boys, I think are solid, or at least on theory.
The big problem I have is that I don't actually have characters on boars yet, so they're just unsupported. If I run them as bigger units, literally the next thing I need to get is going to be a couple of mounted characters, so that then I have the options of doing a sort of boar boy minibus.
Yeah.
Well, Avatars of War do pretty good boar, and your mate Dave isn't so far away. Just saying.
That is true. I've pre-ordered the old plastic or war bosses kit for when the new stuff drops for the Arcane Journal. So I'll have at least a mounted BSB from that, and then we'll just be looking for a war boss.
I can ask a game question. When you got movement trays like this, and then someone else has got a movement tray that's just like that, the movement tray is obviously adding whatever it is, 4 mil to the unit. Do you just bump the movement trays up and just forget that there's nearly a centimeter between them, or do you compensate for that when you move them in? Like, what do you do with that movement tray that's adding dimension?
Like measure the models and then bump just put the trays next to each other and just kind of fudge it. I think is the official stance that Games Workshop will inevitably take.
Because nothing ever
correctly to start with.
Yeah, nothing ever really stays still for like multiple turns, right? So you can, if I've charged that unit, we know that my front line is meant to be touching where your front line is ignoring where that tray is, and then. So when you resolve the pushback or the fallback in good order for whichever unit, you just measure from that front line, and then you make sure it goes to the same point. At the end of the day, like no movement tray will be ideal. The most important thing is just communicating with your opponent and being on the same page as to how you're going to do it, right?
Well, dude, they look great, and they might not get much play on the board at the end, but they'll look great in the cabinet.
Yeah, cheers. I'm definitely happy with how they turned out, and it was not as painful to paint that enormous surface area as I was worried. It's literally only the extreme highlighting layer that takes all the time, and that's the part at which I want to throw them out the window. But the rest of the process, the slap chopping and the washing, all super, doesn't need a lot of precision, super, super fast and reasonably effective. Yeah, I'm surprised at how well they hold up on the super close in. Like they
look great, man. They look really
like
good.
They shouldn't look. Yeah. Cheers.
Super, super solid.
And now we get this is some promissory things for next month. This is so last month was orcs. Next month is mostly going to be night goblins, and this is the sort of central fulcrum for my story, the fluff for my army, which is Iargork, the giant night goblin who has grown so large and learned the spells of an orc shaman. He was born a night goblin, and as he was growing up, started out small, and as with the orc society, that meant he got picked on and bullied and made fun of for being different and tiny, And but unlike other night goblins, he kept growing. And the more he grew, the more respect he got. And he realized that he hadn't done anything to deserve that. There was no merit to this system. And in fact, the discrimination that his fellow night goblins were still facing because they hadn't grown as much was a mark of the injustice of the orc society. And
Is this
so
an allegory?
as time went on and he became even bigger, eventually, no, this is just the background. There's no hidden message there. And as he accrued more power, he eventually realized that the society actually needed to change, and so he's started whispering in the ears of the orc leaders from all of the warbands that he was able to join, and they took him for an orc. They gave him lots of respect because of his size, and whilst he knew he hadn't earned it, he was happy to leverage that against them. And so he starts convincing the orc war bosses to go into some bad engagements, leaning into their impetuosity or their frenzy, getting the orcs killed, and so in glorious combat. But the more that happened, the fewer larger orcs were around, the more equal on the orc footing, or on the orc society's footing, the orcs and goblins become. And so eventually the plan will be that there'll be enough goblins of such stature compared to so few orcs that that they will need to, in fact, reevaluate and rearrange their society along different principles than bigger is better.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and guess here that what we're probably going to see on the table is less in the way of ineffective savage orcs and more in the way of fanatic delivery systems. Would that be roughly right if we translate this to game language?
So typically the army is going to involve a black orc on a wyvern that's going to have the Earg orc whispering into his ear, giving him bad battle tactics, and then large numbers of night goblins, because most of the orcs have been at this point run into bad engagements and been slaughtered, and that will just leave about 90 night goblins with 9 fanatics. I think will be a good starting point.
Yeah,
This sounds
about right.
Nice. Fanatics are absolutely ridiculous, and
so good.
I am almost disappointed at how easy they are to use now and how little counterplay there is. But that, I guess that's
I was
for
expecting
episode.
this to be an entire thing of fanatics, but
no, you'll get to. Actually, my fanatics are kind of cool. I've used a bunch of the one of the Warcry warbands, Underworld's warbands to make some of the fanatics. So I actually like them quite a bit. This is
Underworlds has some great models.
Yeah, really good.
Awesome warbands.
So I'll point out all of those next week.
Squick hoppers are awesome. I really like the new ones you've got that look kind of like knights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're fun to paint as well.
So how are you finding them on the table?
Really good. I mean, I'm not even using all of the sort of ridiculous random move skirmisher stuff that eventually will need to get FAQ'd. I'm just doing them more like they used to be, and they're still excellent. They hit extremely hard. They are surprisingly fast, and at like 70 or so points for a unit of 5, their threat exceeds their points, and they're very cheap, so you can use them to divert as well when you roll a bit lower.
So good.
Hey, can I ask a random movement question? When you roll, say you roll 10 on a random movement, do you have to move 10, or can you do a whole bunch of wheelies and then only move forward 1?
Mm-hmm. No, you can just choose not to move some of that distance. There's nothing that says you have to move the distance you roll on the dice. So a lot of the time I will roll for my mangler and then just I just won't move him because they can't go backwards if they're a mangler. But I'll just not move him forward at all because he's already in the position he needs to be.
Okay, dude, great. Looking forward to seeing these.
And actually,
when they're done.
Yeah, and one other thing with working on the night goblins is I was wondering what you all think a goblin's favorite author is.
Nothing. What is a goblin's favorite author?
Virginia Woolf Rider.
Your first two were good. Don't know about these last ones. They're a little cringe. But
All right,
my,
all right.
my soul is leaving my body.
Last one then. What's an orc's favorite chore?
chopping wood.
Grocery chopping.
I like Jabe's answer more.
Fine.
You know
Next week,
what?
Jabe, you can write the orc puns, and
I'm going to
we'll
ask
judge them then.
ChatGPT to do some for me. And then when we're next on, I'm going to read off a whole list of them for you. Orky puns.
Can't wait
So,
to deal with all the YouTube comments just slamming us for making puns. Which we
Actually,
had
no, they
plenty
love
of
it.
last
Put
episode.
Like, share, subscribe, and put your best orc puns in the comments.
Absolutely. We want to, yes, do that. Do that.
Do
That'd be
that.
great.
That would be way more
reckon,
positive than what I had to deal with.
I reckon that's about us, boys. Yeah?
I'm
So
not hanging
we'll-
around for more puns. I got
No,
shit to do.
I'm
It ain't
out.
a hobby.
Well,
You punching out.
I look forward to seeing next month's hobby. Owen, good luck. Chris, can't wait to see it.
Thanks, bro.
Jabe, I'm impressed to see you with painted models, mate. This is a whole
Yeah,
new man.
I'm stoked to see that.
Yeah,
Stoked and
I'm actually
horrified at my
liking
own
it.
painting.
They look awesome.
It's like, it's this whole thing. I don't know why no one ever told me before. It's like this meditative type practice. You can just sit there and fucking zone out doing edge highlights for 2 hours on a model. And it's a good way to calm the mind and bring those cortisol levels down. I'm loving it. This slow grow is great. I'm glad you guys got me into it. Looking forward to actually getting some games. But I reckon that's about us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having gotten here, all one of you who's gotten to this point in the video. And we'll be back with Slow Growth in about a month or so from now. And until then, don't fail your strength test. We've been the Dwellers Below. Catch you around.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.